So question 13 looks, well, it looks hideous really. This shape looks very confusing. But as soon as you see that this shape can actually be split into two triangles, if you just draw a line down the middle here, it becomes much more simple. So if we can just imagine that we drew a line down the middle here and we divided this composite shape into two triangles, one on this side and one on this side, we can just work out the area of each triangle and then add them together to find the total area of the shape. So the area of this triangle here, well, we know that the area of a triangle is given by a half times the base times the height. And for this triangle, the base is going to be from this point here to here. And that's actually given to us. It's up here. This 20-meter length goes from this end of the triangle to this end of the triangle. Well, that was a bit slanted, but it goes from this point here to this point here. So that's the base of the triangle, and it's 20 meters. So we know the base, but we also need to find the height of this triangle before we can find the area. So the height is going to be from this base up to the highest point of the triangle up here, and it has to be the perpendicular height of the triangle. So from here, it has to make a right angle with our base. So what have we got? What information do we know about this length? Well, I'm going to come over here to these parallel lengths because I think they're going to tell me a bit of information about this length here. I can see that this length from here to here, that's 5 meters. And I can see that this length from here to here, this length here, well, that's 15 meters. So my height of this triangle from top to bottom, that's going to be 5 meters plus 15 meters down here. So that's going to be a height of 20 meters as well. So our base is 20 meters and our height is 20 meters for this triangle. So the area of this triangle, we can find that by saying a half times 20 for the base is 20 meters times 20 again, because the height is also 20 meters. So a half times 20 times 20, well, that gives us 200. So we've got an area of 200 square meters for this triangle here on the left. And then we just need to find the area of this triangle on the right, and we're done. And then we need to add them together, and then we're done, but that's pretty simple. So if we can find this area now of this smaller triangle here on the right, then we're almost finished. And the way we find the area of a triangle, we need the base and we need the height. What is this base length here of this triangle? If we know that this total base of our composite shape is 32 meters, because it's labeled. It says that this length is 32 meters. And we just want to find the length from this point here to this point here. So we just want to find part of that length. And we know that the base on this side is 20 meters. We know this length is 20 meters because remember this length here was 20 meters. Then how are we going to find this remaining length? The total length is 32 meters. This part makes up 20 meters of those 32 meters. So 20 of the 32 meters is here. What's left over here? Well, it's just going to be 32 minus 20. So it's going to be 12 meters left over. So that means that this leftover bit from here to here is 12 meters, and that's the base of our smaller triangle. That's what we need. We need the base of this triangle to find the area of it. So we can write down, we can even label it. You might like to draw this whole diagram in your book so you can keep track of all the lengths and areas. I know my base here of this smaller triangle is 12 meters. So in order to find the area, I need my base. I also need my height. So the height of this small triangle, well, that's quite easy. That's just from this point here, the top of the triangle, down to the base. And that's already labeled here as 15 meters. We know that from the top of this triangle down to the base is just 15 meters. So we've got our base. Our base was 12 meters. We've got our height. Our height is 15 meters. we can work out the area of this smaller triangle now as well. Half times the base, which was 12, times the height, which was 15. All we need to do is a half of 12 times 15, which gives us 90. So our area of this small triangle here is 90 square meters. I believe I've just found a problem in this question. I think the answer should be 200 plus 90, which gives us 290 square meters. But that's not an option in the answers here. So if you've already done this quiz and you got a different answer before we change the answer over, I'm just changing it over now. Don't worry if you got this question wrong. Question 13, there was an error with the question. I think only one student has done the quiz at this point, so should be all right for most of you. Okay, find the total area of shape below. Okay, so we've got another composite shape here. It's clearly made up of a rectangle over here, and it's a triangle over here as well. If we were to draw a line that cuts down through here and separates this shape into a rectangle and a triangle, we can see that this is a right angle triangle here. If we turn our head to the side a bit, if we sort of tilt our head, we can say that this is the base and that's the perpendicular height. So we can find the area of that triangle quite easily. The area of a triangle is half times base times height, and we just said this is going to be our base and this is going to be our height. So half times 4 times 4, which is 8 meters squared. That will be our area for the triangle. And our area for the rectangle over here, that's just going to be 3 times 14, length times width. So that's 42 square meters. So our total area of the shape is just going to be 8 plus 42, which is 50. And our unit is square meters. And we're finally up to our last question. This is quite a long exercise, so it might take you 2 lessons to complete this exercise. We need to find the total area of shape below. Okay, so the total area of this shape, and it's a house by the looks of things, or it looks like a house. We can split this into 2 shapes. We can say that this is a rectangle here, and this is a triangle here. It's already been split for us. But if we look at this triangle, we need to find the height and the base of the triangle. And what's the base of this triangle going to be and the height? We know that the height has to be perpendicular to the base of the triangle. So let's just take this base. It looks like the base of the triangle here. That could be a base. It's one of the sides of the triangle. So we can find this base. This base is just 20 millimeters because it's opposite this side of the rectangle here. So it's going to be the same as this side. So this base is 20 millimeters, that's fine. But what's the height? What's the perpendicular height of this triangle? Remember that the height has to be making a right angle with this base in order for it to be the perpendicular height. So we need to come up vertically from this base to the highest point of the triangle. So we need to come from here up to here. That's going to be the perpendicular height of the triangle. We need to be careful with that. If this is our base, our height has to be straight up from the base to the highest point of the triangle, and it needs to make a right angle with the base. Okay, so if the base is horizontal, our height needs to be vertical and come straight up here. So how are we going to find this height? Well, we've got some information about heights. We've got 18 millimeters total height. Oh, well, it's not a house, is it? It's millimeters. So maybe it's a little picture of a house. So this is 18 millimeters from the ground up to the roof of the house. And over here, this is 10 millimeters. We've got another height here. 10 millimeters from the ground up to the base of the triangle here. So if we wanted to find this height here, well, that's just going to be the total height, the 18 millimeters, minus the 10 millimeters. And that's going to leave us with this other part of the height here. which is what we need to find the height of the triangle. So 18 minus 10, that gives us the height of our triangle. So 18 minus 10 is 8. So this height here, from the top of the triangle to the base of the triangle, that's going to be 8 millimeters. And then we can find out the area of the triangle. It's just a half times the base, which was 20 millimeters. This base here, 20 millimeters, times the height, which we just said was 8 millimeters. We needed to subtract this height from this total height, and that left us with this leftover bit of the height here. So half times 20 times 8, that's just going to be 80. So we know that our area for this triangle up here is 80 millimeters squared. But we're not finished yet. We need to find the total area. So we found one shape, but we still need to find this other rectangle here. And that's pretty straightforward, the rectangle, because we've got one length here, 20 millimeters, and we've got our width here, 10 millimeters. So we've got length and width. That's all we need for a rectangle. So length times width is 20 times 10, which is 200 millimeters square. And our total area, we just have to add our two areas together. So we've got 80 square millimeters up here and 200 square millimeters down here. So altogether that's 200 plus 80 square millimeters. So 280 square millimeters.